I don't remember the episode that you were on, Matt, but it was probably about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
It was 2 years ago for sure. Repeat offender coming in on.
Yeah, it was a January episode because we were in January.
So just passing 2 years.
At
Line Creek.
Line Creek, yeah.
Line Creek Bus Barn.
And you had just brewed One Team, One Fight.
One team, one fight. One.
Yeah, number one. And that was to support veteran nonprofits.
Yeah.
Now you've done it at your own brewery, but former 82nd guy, how many years did you end up serving?
8 total.
8 total.
5 Fort Bragg. Oh, I don't know what the hell it's called now, but Fort Bragg.
Going
5
back
years.
to Fort Bragg.
It's Fort Bragg.
It was Liberty.
Oh, it went back.
They found another person named Bragg to name it after.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, thank God. I'm all about changing some shit, but come on, man.
Yeah.
We gotta pick our battles here.
Yes. So they went back.
Okay, so yes, Fort Bragg, 5 years.
Yeah.
And then 3 years at the lovely fortitude of USAREC.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Boo, boo, boo.
So, and then after USAREC, you got out.
Correct. Yeah. 2014. Mid 2014. I've been out, over a decade now. Wow. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah. When you start really thinking about how long it's been, even now since the war ended and even since the drawdown and everything else.
Yeah. And
It's
then
been a while.
you wake up or you go to sleep fine and then you wake up and like your hip flexor is like completely just like tweaked and cramping and you're like, what happened? All I did was go to sleep.
Wait till your knees go.
This is just, I twisted my ankle in my sleep. What happened? This is where we're at. This is great. It's all uphill.
Yeah. The constant ringing in your ear.
Yeah.
The bad knees.
That is good.
back.
Yeah. Ringing in the ear and then followed by a migraine. Let's go.
What, you reached out to me, I want to say it was about 4 months ago or so.
Yeah.
You were listening to a podcast episode and from another podcast. And on that, somebody made a comment that really struck a chord with you around, I think it had something to do with the fact of how the military really programs us to be ready for combat.
Correct.
Yet the struggle after.
Honestly can't remember exactly what I was listening to. I just remember it like hit like a specific note to where like immediately I'm just like grabbing my phone, kind of having like a little mental freak out and like just texting people. And I'm like, I'm probably going to sound like a freaking maniac, but you know what? And then I just like text, I text Ethan, I text, all my people, all my military people. I don't have very many anymore, but
I'm glad I'm on that short list.
yeah, hey man. Or I'm just like, and I'm like texting and they're probably like, this guy drunk or something? Like, but the specific statement was that the military works so hard to train you to deploy, but never trains you how to come back. So we're always like, I think it's a census that we're always like in this like fight or flight mode because that's, you're trained to do it, right? And when you come back, that never gets reset or maybe that it needs to, but how am I supposed to do that? Because you're never taught that. And when you're in, it stays kind of stagnant because you're in that environment. So it never really like goes away. And then when you get out and then like a couple years go by, you're like, oh shit, something wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me, but like, why am I freaking out every time? Like it's Independence Day or like the Braves cross the home plate and blah, blah, blah. Right. Like, and you're just freaking out a little bit. It's like something hits later, which is weird. But I know that there's some science behind that, but I am definitely not qualified to answer those kinds of things.
Yeah, Kyle probably knows a little bit more only because he even had I don't know if you ever heard of the stellate ganglion block.
So take Novocaine or lidocaine and they find your stellate ganglion cluster. They go through your neck.
Oh my gosh.
And
what's a part of that? I don't really remember it.
Yeah.
But I remember that I got shots in my neck from a trial something rather.
Mm. Did it bring back feelings?
So the whole concept was like, hey, so and so, we're gonna inject your neck with this huge ass needle. It's not gonna feel good at all, but you're gonna be like, you are a computer system, and you're in this fight or flight mode, and we just need to reset you.
It's a Control-Alt-Delete.
It is.
Does not get rid of the virus,
but it lasts like maybe a few weeks, and then you're going back to like, oh gosh, reality.
Yeah, that's exactly what it did.
Well, and some people it lasts like a couple months. I think some have gone as much as 6 to 8 months.
Some are permanent. It's a one and done, and you're good to go. Which is
the individual.
Yeah, it must be nice.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you had it.
I did. I remember. You know what's
probably a brag, maybe, because
no. You know what? No, this was a private doctor while I was in USREC in California.
Oh, interesting.
And I got the injections from some random, so-and-so address, suite 210, and it's just a cookie cutter building. And then I sat in like a, one of the like almost like pregnancy, like we got to make sure everything looks right table. And then they're just like, all right, you just need to relax, and we're going to inject this 1-inch needle into your neck. I don't really remember anything else other than that. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know. I really don't remember, which is I'm kind of scared about that, but I don't remember that.
Your feet weren't up in the stirrups or anything.
Yeah, I think that they took those off. But that's the thing is I remember doing that, but that was during the time I think that my personally my body was like going through this whole like whoa recollection kind of thing. Like, hey, you like went through some stuff, and like we got to process that.
Yeah. But
we never did. And like now you're like starting to have like I had many times where I just didn't remember things, almost like blacking out without any substance at all. You just you don't remember. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was doing that, and they specifically told me, oh, don't worry, it's covered by TRICARE, but it is a trial thing, this and that. I was just like, dude, whatever, man, make me feel better. Yeah. Yeah. This is weird out here.
I think some of the problems or challenges is that although we went through a 20-year war, there were things that we learned. I think we've been learning a lot since then, like tools like stellate ganglion block and other shock treatment, I think is another one that some people get. Magnetic treatment. There's a magnetic
temples,
treatment
temples
that they're doing. All kinds of different types of treatment that I think some people are looking for the magic pill, and there isn't a magic pill.
Correct.
And that's part of the challenge. And TBI, long-term effects of TBI, especially the types of TBI that veterans have, I don't know that there's any type of medical white papers that have really fully fleshed that out, because sustained long-term TBI is maybe not something that they run across a whole lot. It's typically like, football or baseball or, major trauma multiple times, but not at the level of which a lot of guys, you think like even mortarmen and everything, the constant pounding of mortar rounds, and they're supposed to be checking that, but most of the time nobody's recording that information. And that's a lot on top of then, the combat stress and the whole bit. So I don't know that there's enough research yet. Maybe we're going to get better for the next generation, but I think what you're describing is your generation, this generation. What the hell are we going to do to fix the soldiers that already went downrange and had this issue?
The unfortunate reality, I think, is that it's we'll figure it out. Just like a whatever, which really sucks. And, you as a veteran are going through like the VA and disability, and that's, oh my, nightmare.
Yeah.
Always a nightmare, no matter what. And like, you're at the disposal of, it depends on what you have, your pack of paperwork that says, hey, I'm like really messed up in like, X, Y, and Z and all of these, 1 through 10. But like, it depends on if it goes in front of you or in front of you, whether I'm going to get approved or not on whatever it is that I'm trying to claim, which is so messed up. But that's just where we're at right now. And then also, the hasn't gotten bad enough kind of mentality to where that's unfortunately kind of military 101. They like, well, we just brought it up, changing names. And like, oh, we don't like that. That was a Confederate general, or I think, right?
Yeah,
I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I'm just like, dude, I don't know. That cool, but put your effort somewhere a little bit more constructive than just changing a military base. Civilians don't care about that.
Yeah.
They're not allowed in there anyways.
Yeah.
So I just, it's an unfortunate kind of reality that I think requires people like us to expose it to an extent, and just bring some light to the reality that, like, you know, as many like Billy Badasses that come on the show, the majority of listeners are probably just like the regular military people.
Yeah.
That are like, you know, maybe they were supply, or, you know, I was a fueler. Like me, I was a freaking mechanic, kind of. But that was my job. I was a mechanic, right? And even all those poor bastards in USAREC. I don't envy any of that. But that's the majority of, I would say, the census or the general public of military, right? And there's this the mantra of when you were in where you are not good enough to, you know, oh, you didn't serve either this amount of years, or you haven't had this amount of tours, or God forbid you're actually sick and you need to go to a doctor to get some kind of prescription. Well, now that's frowned upon because, like, just nut up or shut up, which is, it's all just terrible. But that translates after also. And when you're not surrounded by the like-minded people that are going through the same thing, like your unit, you feel weird. It's strange. It's really strange, in my opinion. Like, almost like no one understands you.
Yeah.
Because it is a small amount of population, especially if you either go back to your home or you move away from where you were stationed. Now you're like, I have to start over. But like making friends with people who, like, unless you kind of know where I have been or was some kind of branch and experience, like, I don't know how to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you have to, like, just get like outside of your body and be like a fake person. When in the inside, you're just like feeling a certain just like disconnect from the world. And it's just like why it's bad, but I do love the publicity of veteran suicides, because it is being acknowledged that it is happening. And they're like, whoa, we got to stop this. You know, what is it? Let me do 21 push-ups or something, right? Cool. Yeah, whatever. I'm all about it. I'm all about a cause. But at the end of the day, like, this is real life, and people don't feel like they fit in or normal, or like people are looking at me. I feel like I'm looking weird, and like, what do I do? And you just are awkward, antisocial, and it leads to severe depression. You already have anxiety because of like all this and that, right? And you just like you're just trying to fit in. And that's like a tough pill to swallow. And that's where, when this whole like topic of they train you to deploy, but they don't train you how to come back. And that was a really, like, at that time, for whatever reason, that was like a brick in my face. I was like, holy shit. That was like deep. I wasn't ready to hear it. I'm like, this sounds like a cool podcast. And then I was just like, oh shit, off. Done.
So
not listening to this anymore.
The reintegration process, you remember vaguely what the reintegration process was like when you get back from deployment?
Yeah, the quote unquote reintegration process.
Yeah. It was, how quick can I get to the beer?
Yeah.
I got to be somewhere at 9. We don't have PT. I'm going to get as drunk as I can.
You said 30 days off. Let's go.
Yeah. I got to get this 14 days worth of classes before I get 30 days off.
Yep.
And for that 14 days, I'm going to be hammered. When I go on 30 days of leave, I'm probably going to be hammered for 30 days. And that's
What, you've been deprived?
that is a typical experience though. But I think what we're missing is the trauma of joining the military. You can't say that's not a traumatic event. How do you reprogram people? You have to tear them down. For some, that could be a traumatic event. Then there's the separation from everything you know, becoming a new person. Yes, sometimes it's for the better. Most of the time, it's for the better.
Agreed.
People will say that
Structure.
Structure, whatever.
Discipline.
Yeah, discipline, structure. It's important.
But there's trauma that goes along with that. And you're right. There's no process that's going to get you back to where you were, or even get you comfortable enough to admit you're different. And I think that's the important part, is admitting how different you are after the experiences.
Have you guys seen the latest? There's like a chart that's flown around all over social media that's showing the number of suicide rates over the last 20 years and stuff of veterans climbing. And some of it's exactly what we're talking about. Is that there is nobody to talk to. I mean, one of the things that you had in the veterans, or when you're on active duty, is you had your unit. You had your guys next to you all the time. They were going through the same trauma, the same events, and everything else. You get on the outside, you're separated. You may not have a nucleus of friends in your small circle, which we pretty much all three have 5, 7 friends that are probably in our close circle. And then it goes out from that. And it's something maybe that's within the military of why we do that, but we have to keep, we have to make sure we don't put too much emotion for what could potentially happen. Maybe that's the reason why. Whatever the cause is, that we also put so much emphasis on being normal that I think it creates a trauma.
Let's put a huge quote around that.
Hell yeah,
normal
put
word.
those quotes up. What's up?
Yeah.
And I think that causes this whole issue with a lot of veterans who then can't deal with it because they're not feeling normal. They have nobody to talk to. They put this facade on. They walk around as if they're normal because that's what everybody wants them to see. I mean, there's a video of a guy who I saw recently that's kind of dancing and everything else. And this was the night before he killed himself. He looks like he's having a good time. Jesus. Well, you don't know what's going on inside of somebody unless you're really talking to them. But even this whole thing of like, call your buddy, most of us aren't calling one another and checking up. And if we are doing that type of stuff, you're going to tell me, hey, I'm doing good, man. I'm great. Doing fine.
Well, I would say, let's be honest. Like everyone who listens, like with pure honesty, the culturally speaking, active duty it feels like you're on a different planet almost. This is your entire world. These people like that you are going to go to war with at the time, you're going to go to war with, you will at some point experience some extremely traumatic stuff with these people that you are willing to die for, that you don't know really, other than maybe you're blessed to have known that person since freaking boot camp kind of thing. Like that's the most that you know that person, but you're willing to die for that person because of honor and all the things that are like just drilled and programmed into our brains kind of thing, which I don't disagree with, because I think it does build a lot of like strong, like just human character. That's who we are like as humans personally. But once you get out and as the years go by, I will say confidently, the people that I actually served with, I still talk to two people, like on a regular basis. Yeah. One is one of my best friends, but we treaded the rough rivers of user-rec, so there's a trauma bond there, hardcore. Mm-hmm. So we were even the urinalysis guys, so whatever. but I just, there is like this, like when you exit, that disconnect is like these people that you are literally willing to die for, that you do end up keeping in touch with to an extent, over time, as time goes by and life goes on, because we all have our own lives going on, we just end up just not talking to those people ever again. You remember them. They're just like, they're branded into your memory. But I mean, like, what the hell is that about? That's kind of weird to me.
20 years, I'm probably got 2 people.
But then, like, if
12 years, well, how many? 2 people?
2, 3 at the most.
But then, like, also on that same note, if that person were to walk through that door right now, it would be like nothing ever happened. Like the time never passed, and you guys 100%. Would be just boom, done. And there would be a lot to catch up on.
Yeah,
that's about the only difference. But it's just this weird like culture that is. There are a lot of positives in that culture,
but we also still do the we eat our own, and we still also do the what do you call it, the I don't know, the bashing, the bro vet stuff. You probably heard that as well, where guys use their veteran status to be able to improve their lifestyle or whatever, and people get upset at that.
It's so cool.
And then the other part is the bashing or the hazing and stuff. So, if you're not good enough, you're not standing up or whatever, and you're not, living up to these standards that were set up. I think that carries on in the private sector too. And so that when guys end up getting out, and they don't stay in contact with those guys because they had an emotional bond in a combat situation. They had an emotional bond while they were on active duty because they had a purpose to serve as a unit, to be preparing for combat in the event of. But once you separate, you don't have that common bond. And actually, some of that stuff was just bullshit, to be honest with you.
I mean, there's only so many people that I can personally say that, hey, man, it was really cool when we waited 14 hours to fly out of North Carolina just to go to combat. That's cool, right? I can't say that about anybody else, but we did that, and we waited and we walked around and to get circulation in our legs. But other than that, we just sat around like freaking idiots. But we had to be there at 4:30 a.m. because,
hurry up and wait.
Yeah, good God. Yeah. But see, I bring that up because piggybacking off of that, I think that there is 100%. If you were to like put this in a little spreadsheet or a whiteboard, and we're like connecting the dots here, and we're trying to like investigate what the hell's going on here. Well, it all correlates to these suicides, unfortunately, are because of this disconnect. Because when you do have a basic training boot camp kind of situation where they do just dump every civilian aspect out of your brain, and you're getting yelled at like you're just a piece of shit because you just exist. You go from that to fast forward 8 years, and like you've made a career out of it, but then you exit, and then you're just like throwing up your hands, and you're like, oh, I don't know what the hell to do anymore with my life, because that was my life. That was my identity. Yeah. And now it's stripped away from me just because I didn't want to, extend a contract.
So how do we build them back then?
That's what I'm saying. That's where
because there's so many aspects. There's the mental, there's the I don't know, maybe you still call it mental, but the camaraderie or the getting
relational.
Yeah.
The relational.
There's the physical that still has, because the TBI messed with the brain and PTSD and everything else. I think a lot of it's going to be caused by TBI, the long-term effects of TBI, in terms of like even, unfortunately us having later stage problems, Alzheimer's or whatever, is still yet to be determined.
There's supposed to be some connections though.
Yeah, I know.
It's bad.
And so, I mean, when you start thinking about all of those types of things, what is it that the military or the VA or whomever makes these decisions? If we were able to sit in front of the leaders today that can make decisions about change, what would we recommend? What would we say, hey, you need to do more of in order to fix this problem?
I mean, that's a tough question, but that almost becomes like part of this whole the the public going up and speaking on the stand and getting their 1 minute of fame to talk about this or that and whatever they got on their mind kind of thing. I feel like we're almost at that point.
Talking about
as,
like when
as
they go
veterans.
to, when you go to the city council.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
whatever.
I'm so-and-so and this is what I have to say, right? But it's almost like, why do we have to wait until it's too late? Why do we have to wait until enough bad cases happen before we actually give it some kind of attention?
Yeah.
That's wild to me. Because like, I mean, is there not enough already?
Yeah.
It's bad. It's really bad. And it's like the light is being shown. And I know that there's like negative stipulations on like the way that the military is now and where it's like, where it's going and like like the stress cards and the weird things, right? I don't know. I don't know about all those things, but it was like a sad attempt. That's a sad attempt of like trying to alleviate, but it's not about the people that are coming in. It's about the people who have been here for a hot minute and who are leaving, or, God forbid, the people that were in Vietnam that will never go see a VA doctor to get any kind of disability, which is so fucking heartbreaking.
So that's a great point, because now you look at it as you had a sample size that you could have worked on, which are the Vietnam vets, and you chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I know that if Caitlin were here, she'd probably be talking about some of the studies that she did and research on
Brain lady.
Brain lady.
To me, she is the brain lady. She's the brain lady.
when she talks a lot about the study that she did, but it was mainly
Gulf War syndrome.
Yeah, Gulf War syndrome
That too,
veterans and stuff,
that's
right?
crazy.
But
So-
you notice it's been like kind of ramping up, right?
It is.
Was nothing, maybe a more effort in the attempt, still a poor attempt for us,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe the trajectory is where it needs to go.
But we're trying to focus on like the ones that are coming in and like screw the ones that have been here. Like, we got ours, whatever.
I don't know that we are focusing on the ones that are coming in. I think it's part of the issue.
even just like like I said, a sad attempt.
Yeah.
At least they're trying to a degree.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like what like is there even a way? Because there's so many protection laws against the VA doctors and everyone that is revolved around just the VA like umbrella, right? But when can we get a point to where, hey, we're going to leave this open to like hear the voice of the veterans? How about that? Just like let some people speak up and not in a like what is this what we were just talking about? I don't know what that's actually called.
Like a rovet, like an authoritarian type
some,
sense.
where like you have a turn
Mhm.
and you
Like a public forum,
yeah,
like a
and,
town
you
hall.
were told you have
City
1 minute to speak, and you have 1 minute to speak, right? I just even that sounds dumb to me, but like what else? What other options do we have as veterans? Because there's too many protection laws against the people who are actually running the organization itself.
I think a little more mental health transparency on the front end. Welcome to the Army. You're going to be traumatized in some form or fashion.
Oh, that's rough.
But it's like,
The truth, it
No,
helps, right?
No, that's reality.
It's got to help,
But it's just
to
like
some degree, so you can at least start like
you sign.
working through it beforehand.
We sign a waiver.
Yeah,
so you're
it's like,
entering
hey,
and be like,
like,
hey,
Hey man,
you're gonna be pretty fucked up.
you're gonna-
So, but just sign here an acknowledgement.
Yeah,
for
just-
me, right here.
yeah.
It's the last page of your packet.
yeah.
The packet is 45 inches thick.
No, we're not going to tell you actually until after you sign the package. You go
Yeah,
through
yeah.
basic training when you get to your first unit.
That's
Then you
right.
start the
Then
training.
he's like, hey, yeah,
That's right.
You're gonna be
Then the
By the
reality
way.
is going to set in that, hey, we're going to be deploying, but when we
Which they have some stuff like that with the master resiliency trainers at the unit level, and that's the kind of the poor attempt, like the hunt the good stuff guy
Yeah.
that you had to talk to every 3
Oh
months.
God.
I was one of those guys, and it was just
I think the main thing that we need to talk about though is like at the end of the day, there needs to be some way that it's communicated up where more is done either within the VA, and maybe the VA is not the right place. Maybe it's at the beginning of the train instead of at the caboose. So you're actually then focusing on, let's start with are we training the individuals that are coming on active duty today to prepare them for what's going to happen? And it's going to happen whenever they do end up deploying, and there will be another event at some point. It happens over and over. We can talk about all the wars through history, but then also at the end of the day, how can we also help those that are currently struggling from previous wars, Vietnam, Korea, Gulf War, as well as the GWAT? How can we help those veterans in a way in which their voices are heard and something is done and money is set aside so that treatments can begin? There needs to be a greater emphasis on this. So if somebody now, we got the DOG and we got all these other departments and everything, instead of naming the forts, although I like that we're going back to some of them because it's just easy for me to remember. But the reality is, let's spend our money on the things that matter the most, which is something like this right here. Otherwise, that suicide chart that we were talking about earlier is going to continue to climb and climb and climb.
Freaking heartbreaking, man.
Because we're not getting the right help. Yeah. So if you're struggling, though, and you listen to this episode, or if this episode hit the chord like it did with you previously, then we're going to make sure we put the suicide line inside this episode to make sure. Pick up the phone, call somebody. Call one of those guys you serve with. Call us. Hell, call whomever to make damn sure.
I mean,
it doesn't end that way.
I would say that I would speak on most behalfs that if I saw a phone call from a person that I served with that I haven't talked to in probably years, the first thing I would do is answer.
Yeah.
Because something's wrong. Why the hell are you just calling me out of nowhere?
You're
like, not a text, like nothing. Yeah, if you're calling me, like, something's wrong. And I don't think there's anything wrong with calling someone you haven't talked to in years, because you just need someone that can, God forbid, like, relate to you.
Yeah. I bet every one of us would be on a plane or in our car or whatever it'd be.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would also say, like, on a note that one big movement that the VA or just any government agency doesn't like, right, is anything publicized. So if enough people made things public, that would create a movement too.
Call your congressman.
Yeah, that would create a movement too. Right. Hey, we got a bunch of veterans here, and they're all really messed up.
You don't have to be a veteran to make that phone call.
Oh, for sure. But a gathering of a bunch of veterans who are not getting the help that they're asking for are in a gathering, that does not look good on, hopefully not Fox News, whatever, on some news, right? Yeah. On all the news channels, right?
On a platform.
Yeah. Whatever it is. But it's, I think that's also kind of a note to take as well. It's just, I mean, our voice is a power. It's like fortunate and unfortunately. The voice is a pure power.